Hey, this is Matt Wimmer from Brody Precision. In this video, we are continuing our series on BMS and cybersecurity by specifically looking at a feature that's within Niagara 4 that I think a lot of people overlook, even though it's a free feature that you can use, and I think you can get a lot of value out of if you just spend a tiny bit of time to take a look at it and review it every once in a while on your jobs, and your end users, I think, will probably appreciate it. And that is the Niagara Security Dashboard. It's a little service that will show you in your Niagara stations. The new stations now come with this installed by default, but if you're working on a legacy job or a job that's been around for a while, a station that's been built for a long time, you'll need to install it on that station in order to get all of the value out of it. So let's jump into Niagara now, and we'll get started. All right, so we've got Niagara open now, and I am connected to our demo supervisor. And the way that we get access to our Niagara Security Dashboard is we open up our services, and then down here at the very bottom, there is the security service. If you go into your station and you don't see that security service, you're going to want to open up your palette and then go to the NSS module. I wish they had given this a more easy to find name from the module standpoint, because if you just search security, it won't come up. You need to do NSS and pull that up and go to the security service here and pull it into your services. If you don't have that module installed on your Jace, if this is a Jace that you're trying to use it on, you will need to use your software manager to install that module on the Jace reboot, and then you'll be able to install the service itself. So with all that out of the way, we can now jump into the service. So I just double click on the security service. This is a supervisor, so it's going to take a little bit longer here to load up because it's pulling in data from our supervisor itself, as well as the subordinate Jaces and things that are underneath that supervisor. They've also added additional features in 4.14 where it can actually go through another layer of devices on that supervisor. So say you had a master supervisor that was talking to a bunch of other supervisors that had Jaces under them. The security service can now go to that second tier supervisor and then go down to all the Jaces in it and pull the data back up so that you have one single pane of glass to look at all of this information from. So what we are seeing here now is basically all of Niagara's best practices for security are baked in here with different levels of warning, alert, and okay, depending on your configuration on your Jace or your station as it currently stands. So we can see in general, like for this whole supervisor and the Jaces underneath it, there's 145 features that are being looked at, 9 that are in alert, which means the things that are high priority that we should be looking at. 29 are warning, like maybe you aren't doing things exactly the way that you should, but it's not a major glaring issue, but you should keep them in mind. And then 69 things are okay here, and then 38 other things are in info category, kind of like, hey, just so you know, this is what's going on with this thing. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just information that maybe you should know. So we can see on this, we've got 2 different places that we can look at the information in. We've got our supervisor itself, and then we've got a Jace. For demonstration's sake, because it's a little bit quicker and easier to look at, we'll go into the supervisor itself. So I'll click on the name of the supervisor there, and it will bring me into what's called the station view, which then breaks down all of the alerts and things that the security service is looking at into specific categories based on where they live in the station. So we've got user service, web service, Fox service, platform settings, authentication service stuff, email service stuff, program objects, you name it. We've got a whole bunch of different places where that data is being pulled in from. And if we look here at the first one, we can pull up our user service. I'll click on that name. Not click on the name. The name will bring you to the service, not to the information on the issues and things that it's looking at. So we hit more, and then we can see exactly what's going on here. So we've got a super user with the name admin. Not a recommended thing to do. It's not the end of the world, but you should probably not be doing that. And then everything else is working as it's supposed to here. A couple things maybe that we should keep an eye on or maybe consider changing, like these info category ones, like our passport expiration is disabled for all the users. Best case scenario, IT may recommend that you have passport expiration on. Same goes for concurrent sessions. For super users, especially if you have an admin user, you probably shouldn't allow them to be logged in from multiple different places at the same time. And then it's just giving you basic information like you have 12 users in the station, you have 7 users who have super user powers, and that kind of thing. At the very top, we can see that we have our alert. The alerts will always come in at the very top, and it's telling us that the auto log off feature is disabled for these specific accounts. And that is a feature that's recommended for all accounts to be enabled so that you don't leave it logged in. You don't leave a user logged in at a specific place and the user walks away from their computer and somebody else can come in behind and do whatever they want. And it looks like it's that user who's allowed to have access who's doing the things. So that's one thing that they recommend changing here. Again, the really nice thing about this is that instead of having to know what all of the best practices are for security within Niagara, this will basically take all of those best practices and compare them to what you're doing on the station and give you explicit, hey, this isn't set up the way it should be. This should be changed. Consider looking at this, maybe, that kind of thing. And it gives it to you in a nice, easy to use, easy to look at dashboard. And it's something that if you wanted to, and you have all green here, you could give it to your end user like, hey, I'm conscious of our security posture here on the site in this Niagara install, and here's what it looks like in practice, and that kind of thing. One thing to keep in mind too, though, is that this isn't totally all-encompassing. Just because you have all green here doesn't mean that you're totally safe. You should still have best practices in mind, and you should still be following those best practices as you're designing and setting up these stations and using them. Let's just jump into another one real quick just so that we can have a look. Let's see here. Let's go into the web service here because there's a bunch of stuff that's going on. You can see we're using good minimum protocols. We've got HTTP disabled and only HTTPS enabled. But we're using a default certificate, so we should really be using a custom certificate specific to this site, and ideally it would be signed as well. And then we've got our host header validation is disabled. We should turn that on as the best practices say. So that is a general look at your security service in Niagara. Really simple to use, really simple to set up, but there's a lot of value that comes from using it because, as we've been saying in this series, you always want to be conscious of your security posture on these kind of systems because we're becoming more and more of a target. So just keep that in mind going forward. All right, that does it for this one. Hopefully that's helpful and informative for you. I think the security service is something that you should be looking at on every one of your jobs, even if it's just a sanity check for yourself as to just quickly see that you're setting up everything the way that you should be. It's really easy to overlook certain settings that maybe should be set a certain way, and this gives you an easy way to make sure that that's being done. So as always, like and subscribe if you haven't already. If there's more specific cybersecurity things that you'd like to see in the future, you can leave those down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.